I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening and welcome to our virtual forum for Great Neck Plaza Mayor. My name is Regina Gouvenier and I'm president of the League of Women Voters in Port Washington-Manhasset. As you know, our local league and the New York State League and the National League are nonpartisan. We never support or oppose any political party or candidate. Our mission is to engage you, the voters, by giving all candidates for a given office a public space to answer your questions in a structured way while maintaining civil discourse. Before we begin, I want to thank all the members of our league who have made this evening possible. And they've teamed up to make these forums happen. Most important to our league is Judy Temkin, Chair of Voter Services. She works tirelessly to ensure that the needs of candidates and the public are met. Many of you have submitted questions through the advertised bit.ly, which will remain open during tonight's forum. If you have not yet submitted a question, you may do so now. Our experienced vetters for this evening are Antonia Petrish and Helen Kotsky. As in in-person forums, they will select the questions to forward to our moderator as the forum progresses. Our technical advisor is Judy Esterquist. Marie Bellin is the timer for this evening. Our league encourages new members to take leadership roles. We often describe one piece of our mission as making democracy works. This includes all our voter services work, letting candidates speak directly to voters on issues that matter through forums like this, and through a variety of publications. It includes educating voters and advocating with legislators on issues involving voting and elections, but also on redistricting, natural resources, and healthcare. We only take positions on issues after studying them extensively. We hope you will consider joining the league, which you can do on our website, LWVPWM.org. Remember, the league is not for women only. I will now turn over the candidate forum to Jean Marie Posner, who will serve as our moderator for this evening. Jean Marie is not from Great Neck and is not eligible to vote in this election as our rules require. She will now read our rules and procedures, and we will then move on to opening statements and questions from the audience. I have asked the candidates to leave their cameras off until Jean Marie asks them both to turn cameras on just before the first opening statement. Jean Marie?
Okay, good evening. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters, and thank you, Regina, for that lovely introduction. As she said, I am outside of your district and will be your moderator for this evening. Although you may be familiar with the rules of the virtual debate, I'm required to read them for your benefit and for our viewers. Candidates' opening statements will be in alphabetical order. This will be the same order for closing statements. Each candidate will be allowed 3 minutes for an opening statement. The moderator will open the meeting with questions gathered by the audience following your opening statements. All the questions asked during the debate have been submitted electronically, mostly before, and some may be submitted during the forum. As time permits, electronic addresses for questions will be publicized with the forum and available on the League of Women Voters website. Each candidate will be given 1.5 minutes, 90 seconds, to answer each question. There will be no rebuttal. Questions may be addressed to a specific candidate or to candidates in general. Although all candidates will be given an opportunity to answer any question addressed to a specific individual. The moderator will rotate the order of responses for each question. A league member will be the timekeeper. 1.5 minutes from the end of any given time period, the timekeeper will warn the speaker of a prearranged signal. When the time is up, the speaker will be allowed to finish the sentence. Repeatedly speaking past the deadline may result in a candidate being muted. Candidates will have 2 minutes for their closing statement. Since the purpose of the forum is to determine the candidate's views, no substitute speaker will be allowed to appear in place of the candidate who is unable to attend. The use of props, charts, or visuals and the display of campaign literature is prohibited. So in accordance with the league policy, audio and video recording by authorized members of the media will be permitted only if agreed to by all the candidates present. The league maintains the exclusive right to record the forum and publish it on the League of Women Voters controlled electronic pages. No partial transcript or recordings may be published without the written permission from the league. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this debate. Your views, your opinions, and your comments are all important, and we look forward to hearing from you this evening. In alphabetical order, we will begin with your 3-minute opening remarks. Let's start with Mr. Katz. Welcome, Mr. Katz.
Welcome, and thank you. Thank the league for hosting this event, and I thank everybody for participating. I appreciate it. Many people have asked me why I'm running for this office, and the reason is because I care. I've lived in Great Neck since 1971. My children went to the Great Neck schools. They saw movies at the Playhouse and Squire Theaters. They had egg creams at Frederick's. They went bowling at the Great Neck Bowl, which is now CVS. They ate ice cream at Baskin Robbins and enjoyed walking around town looking at the shops that made our community so great. In town today, kids aren't able to do any of those things. We all know so many of the issues that need to be addressed, whether it's all the empty storefronts, making us look like a ghost town, or our uneven sidewalks with loose bricks and crumbling curbsides, making walking through town an accident waiting to happen. According to Newsday, we have the highest incidence of traffic accidents in Nassau County. So much has disappeared that it both saddens and pains me. I believe the further development of our town will lead to Great Neck being a less desirable place with increasing taxes that will hurt our residential and commercial property values and eventually filter down to negatively impact our school, park, and library systems. This also will be reflected in our home business resale values. So a fair question to ask is, what would you do that's different? Here's just a few of the ideas that I'm going to put into action. I'll bring together our commercial property owners, retailers, and brokers with our local elected politicians from the town of North Hempstead and Nassau County. Working together, we'll hammer out compromise solutions to the problems in our community. I will also meet with the mayors from towns that have remade themselves to see what's worked for them and adapt their successful policies to meet the needs of our local community. I've worked hard and made positive changes in all the organizations that I've headed, and I will do the same for Great Neck Plaza. As your mayor, I will listen to you and address your concerns. I believe that the purpose of local government is to serve the needs of the people. We are a village of about 7,000 people, all living in less than 1 square mile. We should all get along and live a pleasant and peaceful life. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Rosen?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. And I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for this very important service. I am a lawyer and I'm an associate professor in a community college. My wife Nancy and I have lived in Great Neck Plaza for many years, and we have raised our two grown children, Melissa and Seth, here. I have substantial experience in village government. I became mayor following the election in September 2020. Since then, my colleagues, Deputy Mayor Pam Markscheidt and Trustee Michael DeLucia, and I and the other members of the village board have actively worked in furtherance of important priorities. One very important priority is the downtown of the plaza. We have actively sought to recruit new businesses. We have engaged a downtown strategy firm that is developing a retail strategy for our village. They are helping us to hire a downtown advocate who will go out and recruit new shops and restaurants. We've retained another firm to help us get grant money to improve our store facades. Retail vacancies have substantially reduced themselves in our village. Since January 1st, 2021, we have had more than 30 new businesses coming in or about to come in to our village. We also seek to support our existing merchants. We want them to succeed. We started a program with Hofstra University. We provide free courses for our merchants to help them learn important skills. We have worked during the pandemic to help our merchants survive the pandemic and to understand and comply with the regulations of the pandemic. We have devoted a great deal of attention to improving our infrastructure. We're completing the renovations of 2 garages. We have repaved 9 roads last year, and additional roads will be repaved this year. We are planning the repaving of the Barstow Road Bridge sidewalks. And we are about shortly to start working, hopefully next year, on a major renovation project with Nassau County to renovate Cutter Mill Road. Improving pedestrian and motorist safety is very important. We have worked to improve specific streets. We worked closely with a traffic engineer, and we have other important priorities: fiscal responsibility, maintaining essential services. Great Neck Plaza was ranked #1 2021 best place to live in New York. We're very proud of that. We know the reasons why Great Neck Plaza is the best place to live. And with your help and support, we will keep working to make it so into the future. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Katz, and thank you, Mr. Rosen. It is now time for our questions. Each will have 1.5 minutes to respond. And I will direct the first question to Mr. Katz. We know that being a mayor is not an easy job. It requires commitment, a commitment of time, energy, dedication, experience. What is it that you believe is necessary to be a successful mayor? And how would you measure your success at the end of your term?
That's a great question. And I think the answer lies in what I've done in all the years I've been involved in community service. I've headed many organizations. I've been able to work with people, bring them together, work with out-of-the-box solutions, if you will, and get them to a point where we're all moving in the same direction. I think those same skills that I've honed over all these years will be invaluable in the plaza. I also will work full-time to do what I can to meet the needs of the people at the plaza. And I think I've been successful in doing that. I will listen, and that's the important thing, and take into consideration what they want and help them to get there.
Okay. Mr. Rosen, same question, please.
Yes, thank you. Being mayor of a village is not an easy job. It is a very challenging position. And there are some important things that one has to bring to that position. Number one is respect for everyone. And I learned that a long time ago from my father. He taught me Everyone deserves respect. And I believe my record in village government as mayor, as deputy mayor, before that as a trustee, is clearly demonstrative of the fact that I always treat people with respect. I listen to everyone. As a teacher, as a college professor, as an arbitrator, I know how important it is to listen. As a lawyer, I have learned a long time ago that there are always two sides to every issue. Sometimes there are more. And as mayor, to be effective, you have to work to address the issues and many times try to bring people together. I have been able to do that through my professional career as a lawyer, working to achieve agreements. And I will continue to do that with your support in the time and years ahead to address the important challenges and issues that we face in Great Neck Plaza. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Rosen, we are going to go with you for the next question, which is, what would you change or not the process within the village to approve new businesses relative to encouraging or discouraging new businesses in your village?
Thank you very much. People talk that Great Neck Plaza has a difficult process for the approval of businesses. That is clearly not accurate. Anyone who attends our meetings knows that Great Neck Plaza is a village that is very receptive to new businesses. First of all, many businesses, over 50 types of businesses in our village code, come in as of right. They don't need to get a permit for the village to open their business. They may need to get a sign permit, but not a permit to open their business. A much smaller group of businesses require a conditional use permit so that we can address important issues of safety for the public. During the last year, since January 1st, 2021, we have approved 25 or approximately 25 new conditional use permit applications. I think maybe during that time, one, possibly two, were denied for valid reasons. Most of these permits were approved in one meeting. The application is simple, it's straightforward. Most people do not need a lawyer. They can do it themselves. Our building department is there to help them. Great Neck Plaza is open for business, receptive to business.
Okay. Mr. Katz?
Thank you. There are many things I would do differently. I would not take village money, taxpayer money, and reach out to consultants to come in and take surveys and tell us the kinds of stores we have now, the kinds of stores they believe we should have in the future, and basically dictate to us what our village should be like. I think we should decide what we want in our village. I think we have a wealth of talent and experience in our village. And as mayor, I would go out actively, full-time, and seek to bring in new business. I don't want someone coming in to tell me what to do and how to do it, how we should live in our town. I don't believe in that at all. I think we here know what's best for us and what we want moving forward. We have several different ethnic groups in town, and people have talked about it, and I would reach out to those groups and make them feel more comfortable and more welcome. That's why I have Rumi with me as a candidate for trustee, because she represents the Asian community, and I want them to feel they're included in what's happening and they're part of the administration. We should all be here together and work together and improve our town. And I will work again full-time to make this happen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Katz, this next question is for you. There was some comment earlier about infrastructure and parking garages and so forth, but infrastructure really to a village is so much more important than one or two items. How do you feel about the village infrastructure and the amounts of improvements that are needed, and what kind of improvements would you initiate?
Well, I think some of the things we talked about in the past amongst people I've discussed these things with is the fact that we as citizens and voters living in the plaza don't necessarily feel comfortable crossing the streets, walking on the sidewalks. I know there's a tremendous problem when it rains very hard. Some of the sewage backs up or the water backs up, essentially. It's coming into the buildings, into the basements. These things have to be addressed, and they're not being addressed. There was an issue regarding the Barstow Bridge, the bridge over the Long Island Railroad, that a couple of years ago, New York State said it was structurally deficient. And there was some sort of grant involved, from what I read, because I wasn't involved certainly, some sort of grant that would have been available to cover 95% of the costs, but nothing was done. Recently, there was people from the Long Island Railroad that came into the plaza and decided that all we had to do was repave the sidewalk over the bridge. I've had an engineer look at the understructure of the bridge, and in his considered opinion, work should be done. And as far as I'm concerned, the time to do the work is now, not when, God forbid, the bridge collapses or something really happens to hurt somebody. So those are the kind of things I would address right now. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Rosen, your thoughts on infrastructure.
Let me just correct the statement. We did not have some people from the Long Island Railroad come in to look at the bridge. We had engineers from the Long Island Railroad come in back in January with an engineer for the village. And they looked at the bridge and they found that it was structurally sound. Now we are going to go ahead with a project to repave the sidewalks. All the engineers tell us that that's important, to repave the sidewalks on the bridge to prevent seepage of water and salt that gets into the sidewalk and down through the bridge. We have done many infrastructure projects and we will continue to do that. We have repaved 9 village roads this past year. More are slated to be repaved in the coming year. The parking lot across from the village hall will be repaved. We are working to improve drainage, working with the county to improve drainage in critical areas. We are planning to work with the county on a major renovation of Cuttermill Road, which will bring improved and enhanced safety to motorists and pedestrians. We are certainly working on many infrastructure projects. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Rosen, we will go back with you on the next question because your comments have all focused on public safety, and this is certainly a concern of many of the residents in Great Neck Plaza, particularly for the elderly, for children, for adults. What specific initiatives would you recommend to address and improve this issue, this concern?
Public safety is, of course, very important. And I will state at the outset that Great Neck Plaza has been and is a very safe place for people to live, to work, and to visit. We are working very closely with the Nassau County Police Department. They have provided us with excellent service in all different respects. They are very responsive to my requests. When specific issues come up, they address it, and they address it promptly. Just these past couple of weeks, working with the Nassau County Police Department, we presented 3 seminars through Zoom to our residents. We had upwards of 150 to 200 residents on these seminars, informing them on what they can do to make themselves and their families safer. I'm currently working with other mayors of the villages of Great Neck, to come up with a program that, if it goes into place, will enhance safety for all of the residents of Great Neck Peninsula. So we are taking very seriously the responsibility to make sure that Great Neck Plaza remains safe as it is. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Katz?
Well, I think safety, of course, is very important. And one of the things I would do as mayor is negotiate, shall we say, with the police and have increased police presence in the village. We recently had some incidents in one of the buildings, and I think if we had more police presence, it would discourage those kinds of things from happening. In terms of public safety, I think we're talking also about traffic safety and pedestrian safety. And in addition to the whole problem with the crumbling curbsides where people trip and they could fall, or the loose bricks or whatever, I think that we need more and better signage in terms of crosswalks. And I think we need better policing within ourselves with the code enforcement people. I know we have situations where people have made U-turns in town where they're not supposed to do it. Tickets don't seem to be given out. Most of the men seem to be more concerned with meters. And if the meter is overdue, someone gets a ticket for it. But I think essentially, if they paid more attention to the double parking problems, if they paid more attention to people making turns, not letting pedestrians cross, and also we should have more signage in terms of where the crosswalks would be. And we could probably put in additional markings for these crosswalks to have people feel they have a safe place to walk and cross the street. That's very important, I believe. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Katz, you'll be up for the next question. And it really focuses on the fact that there's a considerable growing concern about vacancies in the plaza and its negative impact that it's having within and also outside of the plaza. There's been the idea of a vacancy tax. It's been discussed. I don't know if it's, people say it's not legal, you can do it, you can't do it, but it's a thought, it's an idea that's been suggested to encourage retail landlords to release their space. Is this something that you would explore? Do you think it has merit? Would you be involved and supportive of this effort?
I would be involved in supporting anything that would help fill the vacant stores. We now have 28 vacant stores in town. Many have been vacant for many, many months, if not well over a year. And I think that efforts can and should be made to rectify that. I think, again, getting together with the property owners, some of the retailers, of course, maybe having people make suggestions in terms of taking one space, giving some more space, working something out in terms of tax structure. All these different possibilities exist. A vacancy tax is an interesting idea. I wouldn't rule it out of hand. I really have not looked to it at this point, but I will certainly consider it. And if it is legal, we certainly give us, as far as I'm concerned, a talking point, shall we say, with the owners of the properties to do something more than just allow their property to lie fallow. And those are the kind of things that, again, are all involved with negotiation. You have to talk to people, sit down, put the time in to bring them together and to find reasonable solutions. And that's what I'd be doing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rosen. How do you feel about a vacancy tax?
Respectfully, I would say that Mr. Katz's answer on the vacancy tax belies a lack of understanding of what the situation is. The vacancy tax, sometimes referred to as a blight tax, is legal in New York in 2 upstate counties, Livingston County and Steuben County. A bill pending in the Senate last year and this year, not yet passed, would extend it to other parts of the state. But we do not have authority to impose that. If we did, the amount of the tax would probably not be able to be greater than the amount of the village tax. And it would be de minimis, because the village tax is a very small percentage of the real estate property owner's tax bill. When measured against the total tax bill of school taxes and general taxes, the village portion of the tax bill is about 5% approximately. So imposing another tax would not make any difference and probably would make it more difficult to rent space, because whatever the landlord was paying as a vacancy tax would be added on to the cost of any future tenant that came in. So it is not productive, and at this point, it's not permissible.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Rosen, I'm going to call on you again. 2 big words: downtown revitalization. Everybody's talking about it. You read about it in the newspapers, and it means different things to different people. So what does downtown revitalization mean to you? And what specific programs would you think would be successful in revitalizing your downtown?
Thank you. Downtown revitalization is extremely important, and myself and my colleagues have devoted a great deal of attention and energy to that. I said before that we brought in a downtown retail firm to develop a strategy and to develop with us, to hire with us, help us hire a downtown advocate. We need a professional who's going to go out there and seek out prospective new businesses to come into our village. Merchandise businesses, retail businesses that sell merchandise, and restaurants. We want new businesses that will be upscale. We want new businesses that will be supported by the residents of Great Neck, the entire Great Neck community, and people from outside of Great Neck, so they come here to patronize our stores. We want family restaurants that will be open into the evening, that will bring people into Great Neck. We've also we retained another firm that's going to help us bring in funds so that we could upgrade store facades, which the experts say is necessary to bring in a better quality of retail merchants. That's our plan, and that's what we have been actively working toward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rosen. Mr. Rosen, we're going to, let's see. Mr. Katz, it's your turn on downtown revitalization, our two big words.
Thank you. That's been a hallmark of my campaign because I feel that the town is just not the town that I moved to and I've known and grown to love, of course, over all these years. I think it's very important. And again, I don't believe in farming out these kinds of decisions to outside people that come in, spend the time, talk to our people to ask them what they think. We could talk to them ourselves directly. I think the administration should put their time, which I will do, into talking to the people, into finding out what we want, how we can do it, and then help to implement all these things. I think the key lies in ourselves, not in reaching outside to another group and spending $14 or $20 or $30 or $40 or $60,000 for a consultant to come in to recommend to us that we spend $45,000 to hire somebody else who's going to go out and look to bring in business. I think we could do the job ourselves. We could do it better. I think some of the, what I consider micromanaging, overburdening regulation makes it difficult for people to come into town and set up a business. And I would go through the books and look to change some of those things and make it easier for people to come in, to encourage them to come in. Because right now, I think it's an impediment to bringing new business in. And I'd seek to change that. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Katz, the next question is regarding parking, and it's an issue for the village. Some of the residents that live in the area feel that they're being squeezed out of parking spaces. They're big high rises and they bring in more people, they bring in more cars. So it's an issue. And what would you do to improve and ease residential parking in the streets around your village?
Well, that's something that, as a member of the executive committee of the Chamber of Commerce of Great Neck, we've had many discussions about that. And there are ideas out there. We've talked about other states, other cities that have faced similar situations, and there's very innovative ideas that are out there. And what I would do as mayor is to reach out to these other municipalities, see what they've done, and look to replicate the things that work there. They're talking about different kinds of garages. They're talking about multi-level. They're talking about going down deeper in certain circumstances. It just depends on the situation. But there are ideas out there. I think part of the problem is that many buildings years ago were built for one car in the family. And at this point, many of us have more than one car. And the parking is just not there right now. And it has to be addressed. And I would make that a priority because that's part of living in this town. We have to feel comfortable and feel that we can move around and have what we want and without a problem. And we don't have that now. Some people park in the municipal garage and walk 4 or 5 blocks to their apartment building because there's no parking in the streets. I think it has to be looked at very, very hard and solutions I believe are out there, and I will help find those solutions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Rosen, how would you tackle the parking problem in the village?
As a preliminary observation, I would say that I find it somewhat strange that people say, on the one hand, the downtown is quiet, but there's no parking. Downtown is not quiet. The downtown is vibrant, and there is parking. When you go into our downtown, you can get parking. Can you get a parking space directly in front of the store that you're going to? Very possibly not. But if you went to a shop in normal pre-pandemic times on Fifth Avenue, would you expect to park right in front of that store on Fifth Avenue? No. The fact that parking is available is something that I have spoken to many residents about, and I tell them, meet me anytime during the day, Monday through Friday, and I will meet you and show you where you can park. We have ample parking in our garages. We have substantially renovated one garage. We're about to start renovating a second garage, and there is ample parking throughout the streets of the village. Mr. Katz talks about building new garages, but where and how is he going to do that? He provides no solutions. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Rosen, the next question is for you. There's been some thought that there's overdevelopment that's going on. There's been some suggestions about imposing a moratorium on development and conducting a study to see what's needed and where. What are your thoughts on that?
We have in the past utilized moratoriums. A moratorium is not to be used to prevent development. A moratorium is appropriate where the municipality has particular issues that they want to study and address, and we've done that. There is not overdevelopment in our village. In the past 10 years, I believe we had approximately three new projects. Each project that comes in is very carefully reviewed and analyzed, and every detail of those projects are reviewed by the Village Board of Trustees and the mayor. They all have ample parking. Even in some cases, if they might have gotten in the three projects that I can think of in the past 3 years, I don't believe did get variances, there is always ample parking to address the needs of the residents that are going to be living in those places. So a moratorium might be appropriate if issues and concerns come up that require study, but it should not be used as a tool to prevent legitimate, proper development that will not impose undue burden on the community. Thank you.
Okay. Let's see, Mr. Katz.
Thank you.
On a local and convenient full-service supermarket seems to be very important for many of the residents. Would you make that a priority? How would you go about achieving a new supermarket in the community?
I think it's a great issue. And again, I live here, I shop here, and it is a problem, no question about it. It's hurt us psychologically, if not literally, all of us living here. And I think that what I've heard, and again, it's difficult being on the outside to find all this information out. But my understanding is that the landlord of the property is still collecting rent from the old tenant that had taken over that property, and it's lying fallow. I would do whatever I could, and I couldn't give you an idea now because, again, it's difficult being outside, not to know all the information that you get when you're inside. But I would do all I can to work with the management, work with the company that's paying, if they are paying rent for nothing and leaving it lie fallow, and work to find some solution that will give us the relief that we're looking for and get us a supermarket. I don't have all the answers. I never claimed to have all the answers, but I will work to find these things out. I will reach out to people and get answers, and I will make things work. That's what I've always done, and that's what I'll do it now.
Okay. Mr. Rosen, full service supermarket.
Thank
What are
you.
your
Yes, I have given a great deal of attention and effort to this issue. Great Neck Plaza certainly needs and deserves to have a full-service supermarket. It's important to know that the property in question is private property. We, the village, do not control renting that space. Having said that, I can tell you that I've been talking throughout the past year, since the prior supermarket left, to the owner of the property. And I know that he is actively and has been actively seeking to rent that property. He had at least one deal that was very close to being signed and fell through. And then he had two other deals that fell through for other reasons. We, and I told this to the owner repeatedly, we stand ready to assist in that process. There is no commercial rent control in New York State. So we have no authority to impose limits on rent. People say, well, impose tax incentives. We have very limited authority to do that. If you go through the New York State real property tax law, there's a whole list of incentives. Maybe one might apply for commercial retail space, and that would result in a de minimis exemption that in a project like this would make no difference. We are actively working. I've spoken to 2 supermarket chains in the past 2 days, actively working to help recruit a supermarket, and I will continue to do that. Thank you.
Okay. The next question has to do with a mix of businesses in the village. There are lots of salons, whether it's nail salons, hair salons, there are restaurants, there are banks, there are realtors. But what do you see that is missing from the downtown? And what would you do to encourage that type of business? Mr. Rosen?
Well, I think I've alluded to this in one of my prior answers. My goal and my colleagues on the board's goal is to attract new upscale merchandise stores that will attract people from the Great Neck area and beyond the Great Neck area to shop in Great Neck. My goal is also to attract new family restaurants that will be supported by all of the people in the Great Neck Plaza and the surrounding Great Neck community and the greater area that Great Neck is located in. It is very important to attract this type of retail uses. The types of stores that you referred to are service establishments, which basically come in because these are not uses that can be achieved through the internet. So we have to realize it. And our challenge is to bring in uses, selling merchandise, providing good restaurant experience that will enhance the downtown. And working with the Downtown Works firm that we retained and with the professional downtown advocate that we are looking to hire, I believe we will do just that. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Katz?
I've had several ideas and talked to several people about how we can revitalize our town and bring some life back to it again. I think part of the problem is that, as I mentioned earlier, with overregulation, we have situations where people have come in for a sign for their business, and they're told that the color of their awning is not what the board wants to see. They're told that the typeface on the awning is not the typeface the board wants to see. This is the kind of situation that's very discouraging, in my opinion, of course, for a business to come here and develop and to grow. There's also, we had a bank here, HSBC, and they were told that although the building has 3 faces on it, they were only allowed to put signage on 2 faces. So they had to choose which 2 faces out of 3 they would put a sign on. These are little things that should be left to the individual business to promote their business. In terms of businesses coming in, we've talked about it at the chamber many, many times. At this point, we're looking at about, I think it's 14 to 18% of all retail sale businesses going on is only coming from the computer. The rest is still brick and mortar. As I mentioned earlier, there are other villages that are doing revitalization, that have done revitalization, that are thriving and growing. And I would go and spend time with them, see what they've done, and replicate what they've done. I would also spend time,
Okay. Mr. Katz, the next question would be for you. What do you see as the biggest challenge of governing the village of Great Neck Plaza?
There are so many. The biggest challenge, I think we're talking about it now. My whole purpose in looking to run for mayor is to revive this town. I've been here a long time, and I see it coming down. I believe the policies that have been in place for many, many years with a long entrenched, established bureaucracy, if you will, management officers, whatever you want to call them, the results of their policy speak for themselves. And the results are where we are. They could talk about the niche that we're the best village around in New York State, whatever. But if you look up what niche is all about, the criteria is education of the population. The criteria is population mix. The criteria is salaries. The criteria is the property values. These are many, many things that the administration has nothing to do with. So I think that to say that we're the best village based on their criteria is kind of a misnomer necessarily. If you've lived here and you know what's going on and you're not happy with what you see, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I would encourage everyone, if you're not happy, to vote for us. Give us the chance to do the job. We'll do it right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rosen.
Mr. Katz is basically arguing with the conclusion of Nitsch that Great Neck Plaza should not have been ranked #1. His summary of the criteria is a very brief summary. There's many other items that are considered in that ranking. What is the biggest challenge we face in the village administration? We are called upon to solve problems over which we do not have total control. Revitalizing the downtown is part of it. We are called upon to fill stores, but we don't rent those stores. But the fact that we don't have total control over the solutions does not mean that we cannot stop trying. And we have to find new and creative solutions to the difficult challenges that we face. We have to find solutions to the downtown questions. We have to find solutions to supporting our existing merchants. We want merchants to come in and remain here for a long time and be successful. We in our village have found creative solutions. We started a creative program with Hofstra. We provide a series of 6 workshops free to our merchants to help them learn important retail skills. We have met the challenges that we don't totally control. We met those challenges with energy, dedication, and creativity. And that's what we have to continue to do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next question really deals with a lot of what both of you have already spoken about, intermunicipal partners. And, there are other type of partners within the community that can help you succeed in your goals. So how would you deal with the intermunicipal partners, and what other partners would you bring in to help achieve some of the goals that you want to accomplish for Great Neck Plaza?
I believe that goes to me first.
Yes.
The intermunicipal partnerships are very important. And we have always, for many years, worked with our fellow mayors. I've been attending meetings with our fellow mayors over the last couple of months. We are presently working on a Great Neck-wide program that, if it comes into being, will enhance the safety of all residents of the Great Neck community. We have a long history of working with other mayors. We have also worked closely with the town. I spent a lot of effort earlier this year working with the town and Nassau County to try to find a solution to renovating the movie theater property and the art center property. We haven't been able to do that yet because of a lack of a funding source, but I set up meetings with the town of North Hempstead. I set up meetings with the county and involving the interested parties, trying to come up with a solution. We will continue to work with municipal partners and private partners. We've also worked with the chamber. We set up a group to do informal recruiting with the Chamber of Commerce. We stand ready to work with all people that can add to the process of solving our challenges. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Katz?
Thank you. I think that to talk about meeting and having plans and looking forward to things, how long do these things take? We're looking at a situation now that's gone on for several years, certainly. I know the mayors, because of COVID, haven't been meeting for a while. They're starting to meet again. The town, there's been an election. There are new officials in town. There are new officials in Nassau County. I would go beyond that and even reach out to New York State Senate and our assembly people and look to get something from New York State to help us out also. I think that politicians who want to get reelected are open to covering themselves, and they'll do whatever they can to get reelected. And I think that if we put enough pressure on these people and publicize the fact that they're doing or not doing what they say they're going to do, that's going to help us to move them forward. Again, my idea is to bring people together, to negotiate, compromise, and find constructive, creative solutions. I think they're there, but you have to move things along. Meeting once a month is not going to do it. We have a bid in town, and the bid should be much more active in working with the village. I don't see that happening a lot. I don't see them doing many things. I don't see them bringing new events into town. I don't see them promoting our town. We have to make this an attractive place. I don't think it's being done.
Okay, we're approaching the last question. And, I think you've both been real champions for Great Neck Plaza. And clearly there's a strong passion here. But you must have great feelings about what makes Great Neck Plaza such an outstanding place to live, to work, to shop, to enjoy, to experience. What does it mean to you, Mr. Katz?
Well, I think I alluded to that in my opening statement. When I came here, I had one young girl. She was 1 year old. I had two other children after that. They went through the school system. There were so many things to do in town that just are not here anymore. And I don't see anything being done to encourage those kinds of things to happen again, to encourage family activities. Great to talk about it, but what are you really doing? What is happening to make it happen? I don't see that happening. I'm going to make it happen. I think that the kind of town that was here, the stores that were here, we had a shoe store called it was Mr. J Drama and Footwear. Phenomenal store, great name. The panache was there. We've lost that. I want to bring that back. I think it can come back. And we have to go out and chase it and put the time in to find these people. I'd also promote the stores here. I would look to rebrand Great Neck with a title of some sort as the food of all nations and promote restaurants. There are things that can be done, creative things that can be done. And I would, again, put the time in full time to do those things because I believe it can happen and I'm going to make it happen as mayor. Thank you.
Okay. See, at this point, I think we are closing.
I have to answer that question.
Rosen, I'm sorry, you're right, Mr. Rosen.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
Great Neck Plaza, thank you. Great Neck Plaza is a beautiful place to live. And if you need documentation of that, speak to my colleagues, Pam Markscheid and Michael DeLucia, who are each the president of their very large co-ops, respectively. One is a 3-building, the other is a 4-building co-op. And they will tell you that when vacancies occur in these co-ops, they are quickly filled. I live in a private home area. When houses go on the market here, they are quickly sold. People want to live in Great Neck Plaza. It's a beautiful village, beautiful streets, beautiful downtown, outstanding school system, excellent access to public transportation, one on the railroad and the buses, an excellent library. These are all beautiful things. But in my opinion, there is one thing that really makes Great Neck Plaza the great place that it is. And that is we have the rare opportunity to live in such a beautiful place with people from very diverse backgrounds, people living together, working together in friendship and with respect for one another. Children have the opportunity to grow up. My children grew up with friends from all different backgrounds. That's a beautiful thing, and we should treasure that. And that's something that we in Great Neck Plaza should celebrate. Mr. Katz wants to disparage the #1 ranking given to our village by niche.com. I honor it, I respect it, and I agree with it. Great Neck Plaza is the best place to live in New York. Thank you.
Okay, thank you both for all of your comments, your remarks. It is time for the candidates to now present their closing remarks. You have 2 minutes. Mr. Katz, please.
Thank you. Great Neck has always been a special place for me. When I moved into town, I felt this was the place where I wanted to spend the rest of my life. I'm fed up with just watching this town become a shell of what it once was. It's time for a change, and I'll make it happen. I have a track record of accomplishments in public service and in the private sector that demonstrates that I can get things done, but I can't do it alone. I need your support and just a little bit of faith that we, working together as a community, can help turn things around. Sometimes change is necessary. Otherwise, everything stays the same. It's just talk. And right now, staying the same is not working in Great Neck Plaza. I need you to vote for me as mayor and my team of Jason Hertz and Ruby Hu as trustees to bring to the table my negotiating and organizational skills combined with the will and the out-of-the-box thinking that will make things happen again. Jason, as a civil engineer, is a valuable asset in terms of our infrastructure needs. And Ruby is an accountant that will help keep a watchful eye on our finances. Give us a working majority on the Board of Trustees, and we will begin the process of revitalizing Great Neck Plaza to once again make Great Neck the flagship village of the North Shore Gold Coast. It's time for a change. Let's move forward together. I thank everybody for listening in, and I thank the League for this opportunity to address everyone. Thank you again.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Katz. Mr. Rosen.
Thank you. I would urge everyone to very carefully listen to what my opponent is saying. He criticizes everything, but he offers no real specifics. He offers no specifics as to what he would do if elected. He says he will speak to everyone. That's not an answer to the questions of what his plans are. And of course, speaking to everyone is important. I speak to many people every day. But when my opponent says that he will speak to everyone, he is simply deflecting and not answering the question, what will he do? Because the fact is he has no plans as to what he will do. My opponent talks about going back to the Great Neck of years ago. But we know that life moves forward, not backward. We know that the Great Neck of years past, the Great Neck of the 60s, the 70s, and 80s is no longer. Great Neck and the world are different now than they were those many years ago. Rather than pine for what was, we must move forward to meet the challenges ahead. Since elected in September 2020, myself and Pam Markscheidt and Michael DeLucia have worked with great dedication and energy to meet these challenges, many of which we have gone over. The infrastructure, supporting existing businesses, bringing in new businesses, improving pedestrian safety, public safety, continuing to provide quality services and special programs for our residents. Having been elected as the mayor of the village has been one of the greatest honors of my life. With your support, I will continue to work hard as I can to fulfill the trust placed in me to make Great Neck Plaza all that it can be now and into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rosen, and thank you, Mr. Katz, for sharing your dedication, your passion, and inspiration with us this evening. Also, I want to acknowledge the League of Women Voters for their outstanding service and value added to this debate. This concludes our virtual forum this evening, and I wish you all the best of luck.